If you've never played the game Qwirkle, you're missing out. It's an awesome game, my family absolutely loves it, and hey look, there's been over 5 million sold. The idea here is we get these little tiles, and you hide them, we have to build the combinations, all that stuff. I'm not going to go over the rules of Qwirkle, because that's not what we're doing here, but what I do want to do is talk about these little tiles, because you're not supposed to let people see them. But the game doesn't come with any way to put them other than like this, and it's real easy to knock them over. You're going to have 6 in your hand at a time. It can kind of be a mess. So I'm going to grab my cheapo dial caliper here, or digital caliper here, and we're just going to measure these pieces up. We get 1.23 inches. If we rotate it and do the same thing, it's probably going to be close to the same measurement, 1.22. And then we have to worry about the thickness as well. And we'll slide that in there, and we get just under a ½ inch. Those measurements are going to help us out in designing what we want to do. And the idea here is that I want a way to store these so that the player can see them easily, but nobody else can. And I don't know the angle that we're going to have to put that at, if it's going to be laid back at like this, or have to be more straight up. And also if we want to have all 6 going across, or if we want 2 sets of 3. We'll figure that out as time goes on, but this is going to at least give us a starting point of what's going on. And there's a ton of these tiles, so we need to make sure that we have what we need, and then we can do stuff with it. Alright, so we're here in Onshape. We're going to go ahead and try to model a solution. I basically have 2 ideas. One is going to be like a staircase that has 2, so it's going to be 2 rows of 3, and the other one is the same thing. It's just 1 row where it's a set of all 6 going across. So I think we're going to start off on the right-hand side here, and we're just going to rough out some general shapes. So we get a right angle in there. I don't want that to be perfectly pointy at the top. I want it to have a little spot in there, and then a little space for that, and then we'll have another one go down like so, maybe to like there. It'll flatten out and go in like that. There is absolutely nothing dimensionally right now that makes any sense with this. We're going to have to try to get some of that stuff in there. So I'm not going to... I don't know how I want to do this quite yet. The blocks themselves are basically about 1.25 inches by 1.25 inches, and they're by about a ½ inch. So I'm going to set these flat areas equal to each other, and then these angled areas, I'm going to set them parallel to each other. And I just also want to make sure we have that there. And I got to figure out what exactly we're going to do with this. So we know it's about a ½ inch, so I'm going to dimension these guys to be just a little over a ½ inch. So maybe like 6/8 or 5/8. Oh boy, that made it a lot bigger. And then we know that dimensionally this line here really only needs to be about 1.25 or so. It could actually be a little shorter to be able to get them in there easier, and we're going to set those equal to each other as well. And then we can play with this a whole bunch more as well. But that at least gives us a starting point. And I don't really like angle dimension like this. I usually like to make stuff straight on, but I think for this one it's going to be okay. Let's see, what do we want to make this as far as that? Maybe like 3/8. And then our total height here, this only needs to be about 1/8 of an inch. And then that means this bad boy, or this bad boy here, excuse me. Do I have a dimension for that? Oh, I can play with that dimension, but I thought I have everything set equal to each other. So let's just go in equal, 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 equal. Oh, I need to set my angles on there. My bad. All right, so let me go close. Oh, oops, didn't want to do that. Let's go edit this sketch here. And then we'll dimension this to that. And I don't think 45, maybe 45 degrees will be fine. And now we have all of that stuff locked in pretty nicely. I might change this to 1/8 of an inch because it doesn't need to be more than that. So the tile should lay back on there, no problem. Then I can finish my sketch. I can go ahead and extrude this entire thing. So we know that each of the tiles is 1.25 inches, and then we're going to multiply that by 3. So that's going to be 3.35. So I want to just make it 4 inches, or 3.75, excuse me. So we have that, and I'm cool with that. And the last thing I need to do is just put a little bump stop on there so that these things either sit into this, or there's just a little catch on there. And I think like a little catch is going to be the faster and easier and more reliable way. So you don't have to pick stuff out of this. So I'm going to just draw a little rectangle over here, and it's maybe just going to be a 1/16 of an inch by a 1/16 of an inch. And we'll do the same thing over here. And I don't know if that's going to be big enough or not, but we'll play with that and see what the deal is. They're all set where they need to be, and then I can just extrude those 2 spots. We're going to make sure we add them as new pieces, or excuse me, we're going to add them on. We'll switch direction, and instead of a distance here, we can just say up to face, and then we can click on the face, and it'll go all the way through like so. All right, I'm relatively happy with that. Now we just need to go in and like put some fillets and chamfers and all this stuff on, so it's not like hard edges that we're dealing with. So I think we're going to chamfer all of this one just for funsies. We'll do a 1/16 of an inch. And that should knock off most of the things that we need to be concerned about here. So we'll do it there, we'll do it there, do it here, 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 here. And we'll probably put it on the front there as well. Might as well put it on the back, why not? And the only one we don't have it on, okay, let's just see what this looks like real fast. And this is one of the things that Onshape can do sometimes. It's not Onshape's fault, but sometimes it just doesn't like to process too much information at once. So I'm just going to slow it down. You see how we have these blue areas there? And that's giving us errors. So we're going to delete that for now. And then we're just going to go in when we do our chamfers. We'll add it on to the spots that we know that it will work. And one of the problems with chamfers here is when we're dealing with angled areas like this, they don't really show up too well because it's just not set. So I'm actually going to delete all of that. Let's go and try fillets because we already have angles. We're going to do a 1/16 of an inch again. And let's see here. There we go. See those fillets coming in? So I'm going to delete those for now. We're going to round all of that over. And this one still gives an error message. So we're going to ignore that bad boy. And we're just going to try and see if we can round some of these hard edges over. Yeah, see, that one's going to cause us problems. So we'll come back to that one later. And can I get that one? I can. Let's go over here and get that one. Beautiful. Let's see, can we get that? Nope, that one's going to cause problems, so we'll get rid of that. And I guess we need this back line here. Okay, that's a start here. And then I just want to try to round off some of these other edges on there. So we'll try that real fast. Go into fillet. Just select these, and you can see how now that some of the other steps have been taken care of. It's totally cool. I'm not entirely used to that compared to some of the other drafting software I've used, like Inventor allows you just to go ham and just select everything and it will fill it whatever and do its thing, and that's awesome. But that's not the case here, so that's okay. We just need to make sure we know that, and we'll be all right. Now, I think we have all of that stuff. Cool. And it should hold all of those things. I may need to make these little bump ups a little bit bigger. And honestly, I could also kind of hollow a lot of the stuff out and make it easier to print overall. But I'm pretty cool with that. So let's just really quickly go over to our measurement tool and just measure how big this thing is. It's 4 inches. We know that by, it looks like that distance is a little over 3, which is fine. So we're going to export this. We're going to throw it into the printer and see what happens. And after throwing that into the printer, it's not too big of a deal. It's just over an hour with all the prep time. So an hour print, I don't have it set going crazy. The only things we did was change the infill to adaptive cubic and then the infill to 10. It's holding up these little chips of stuff. It doesn't really matter. And I'm only a little concerned about this area here. Not that the print's going to hold, but that it's going to hold the Qwirkle piece. We'll see if that's the case or not. I feel like these landings are a little big. So we'll figure it out. And what I probably should have done is instead of printing this whole thing, turned it up vertically and just printed out like a slice of one just to see if it actually is going to hold. But as this is building, I'll be able, once it gets to about here, I'll be able to put one on and make sure that it fits. And then if it does, we'll just keep the print going. If it doesn't, we should be okay. You can see it's nothing too crazy. It's a relatively easy piece to print. It's going to print nice and flat and just going to go in and fill in like that and do its thing. So we'll be back once we have a chance to have it printed and see what the final result is. So because I'm me, I also made a couple other versions. This is the original one. I think it's a little big, and I think this angle is not quite right. It should be up more vertically. So I did this one, which is much more vertical. However, this one takes about a half hour longer to print. And I also just don't like how it looks. It also takes up, it's just huge. I don't like how much space it took up. So then I went kind of just back to the absolute basics. Here's just one that all 6 will fit in. It's not real tall. This angle here is 1 inch so that you can grab them from the top as well. So the entire tile is not it's accessible by the fingers at the top. So I'm going to print this one, and I already have this one going. This third version here, if we take a look, it's only a 38-minute print. So I'm pretty excited about that. We'll see what happens between the first two, and we'll have a winner and print the rest of them for the family. So the one that fits 6 had a print error, and I'm not going to wait to get it. This guy works not bad. The ridges here, or the spacing here, is a little too large. What happens is I get it on there, and it falls down. So we wasted some space there. Probably a steeper angle would hold those in. It only needs to lean back maybe like 15 degrees and be fine. This one's at 45 and it's just way too much. But what I like about it is you can set them up. They're easy to read. You can't really see them if I turn this around, and the camera's above where it's at, so it's going to be a little more obvious. But you can see you can't really tell necessarily what's there. You get a little bit of the color, but you can't get the shape for sure. So yeah, I would definitely make the angle a little bit more and then go through, and maybe I'll go through and do a follow-up video with a better solution. This is okay, but it needs to be better.